select, but very special audience. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, are we going? Right.
Go, hold on 1 second. Let's just make sure Barry's over this.
We're just waiting for the professional videographer.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Take it away, Mr. Roberts.
Well, welcome all of you to this very, very short and possibly quite harebrained presentation all about inventing and adventures. Two things which, at least for me, are inextricably linked, because, in part because the process of taking an idea, having an idea and imagining this wonderful thing, and then trying to turn that into some kind of a practical reality is always an adventure. There are ups and downs, highs and lows, and difficulties and then wonderful parts. But certain inventions are also by their nature concerned with journeys and travel and adventure. And where that happens, that is the kind of ideal combination for me. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is fly through lots and lots of pictures in an implausibly short time, and so I won't even comment a lot on some of them, but what I'm hoping is that they will spark some curiosity in you, and I'm going to try and get through them quickly enough for you to ask some questions at the end. So here we go. So my grandmother, when I was a small child, introduced me to the work of Heath Robinson, William Heath Robinson, and I was just fascinated by them because you can kind of work out how they work. And in retrospect now, I can see that these actually had a very profound influence on my thinking and on my life. And that's something which I think will become apparent to you as well in the photos that you will see, the pictures that you'll see now. But it's also to do with the kind of humour and the sense of delight, hopefully. So, and on this one you see a well thought out and nearly successful experiment by an early railway engineer, or pioneer. And immediately here you can see the sort of similarity. This is in France, a machine for riding on the French railways that I made when I was an assistant in a school, found an abandoned railway. Railways feature here as well. Here's a perambulating piano and a lot of excited children. This is a new and improved egg timer, which I gave to my brother and sister-in-law for their wedding when they got married. And everyone should have one of these. I think this is a machine for helping you to turn the pages of a book. And a printer for saving the libraries. This printed out petitions for people to sign. I think somebody else possibly invented the printing press before, but I'm not quite sure. A musical fence that plays "Oh, I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside" as you walk past it, dragging a stick. I got really interested in bubbles with their fascinating psychedelic swirls, which mirror the patterns of the weather which exist on our own planet almost precisely. And I wondered whether it would be possible to get inside a bubble and to see them and whether they would look the same from the inside. Now, as an inventor, I think that it's actually really important to be slightly cheeky, have some hubris, and not just be not questioning, but to not accepting, but to question some of the very ordinary, basic things that have been established for a long time, because often they're the things that need changing. And now I'm going to do a scientific experiment to demonstrate that for you. Are any of you familiar with Archimedes' principle?
I was.
Anyone heard of it?
I was a long time
Basically,
ago.
an object floating in some water will displace its own weight in water or whatever fluid.
Yes.
Now, I was doing the washing up a while ago.
Heavens.
I was I did say it was alright to be cheeky as an inventor, but not that cheeky.
Not
So,
in the audience.
here we have a bowl. Here we have 50 millilitres of water. I'm going to put it into the bowl. So that was only a tiny little amount. Here we have a bowl that weighs 300 grams. There's 50 grams of water in there. I'm going to put that on there and put this on just so that you can see. It's floating, a 300 gram bowl floating in 50 grams of water. I'm going to put that aside because that's just something to raise your curiosity. This is a machine for playing the piano for anyone who hasn't yet learned.
Oh, right.
And it plays only one tune. It was a kind of boogie woogie blues. Now we get onto the adventure side of it, because I was at a bit of a low point in my life and I felt like I needed an adventure to find a new direction. So I came up with this plan. So this is a giant tricycle made out of bits of rubbish, basically. With so here I am starting to make it in my garden, collecting bits, the vital things you always need for inventions. I didn't have much of a workshop, so this is in my living room. People contributed parts for me, so this is a flag. Nigel's wife Hannah made that. And the journey begins. I managed to sort of persuade the ferry company that this thing was a bicycle. They were slightly aghast when I actually turned up, but they did let me on. The journey started well. Almost idyllically when we got to the other side. I thought we might be just kicked off the road immediately. But soon there was trouble. And, well, as you can see. Now, quickly, I found that this thing was, you were telling me how crocheting on the bus is a great way to meet people.
Yeah.
Well, travelling along at this thing, which goes very slowly,
imagine.
was a wonderful way to meet people. And I soon realised it was a much better means of communication than it was a means of transport. It's good for meeting horses as well. Some people weren't entirely convinced that it counted as a means of transport on the Spanish roads and questioned me about that. But nobody really wanted to stop the adventure, so they always let me go.
Well, they probably hadn't got a rule for it. Because
No, exactly. Some people even helped me on my way. Here I am being towed up a hill at incredible speeds. Sometimes it was dark, sometimes it was cold, sometimes it was very windy like today. Or atmospheric. This is arriving at the fantastic little ancient town of Simancas on top of a hill, where I was welcomed with the most incredible kindness by the whole community who loved the idea of the journey that I was doing. And together we cooked up this plan to change the tricycle journey from being on the road to being on the river. And so here we are. They let me use the bull ring as a workshop, and together we built a raft for the tricycle. And the whole community basically turned out to help the process along. And off we are into the wilds of, this is in Spain, oh no, this is actually in Portugal. Started in Spain, went across to Portugal. Some of you might recognise this lady here. I'm sure one well, yes you do. There were obstacles sometimes, and that had to be overcome, but they were high points in their way, and some of their low points, like this, is the bottom of the deepest canal in Europe, was a high point in another sense. And even on the river, the authorities thought that they'd better check out what was going on, but they didn't stop me either. And finally arrived at Porto and the Atlantic, which seemed like a good place to stop. And there, people in the local boatyard helped me to saw up the raft into tiny, tiny little postage stamp bits so that we could post them into all the waste paper bins around Porto. That was my only means of getting rid of it. Now, an invention doesn't have to be a thing like that. It doesn't have to be a kind of high-tech and thing like that. It can be an idea. It can be a cultural invention. Why not, for example, have a museum all about poo? So that's something that's been missing from society, that's been overlooked. These children thought it was a good idea, and so did this lady. You can meet her in the tent at the National Poo Museum stand. This is Nicola, Nigel's sister. And obviously, if you're going to have a poo museum, probably you need a poo museum ship, a toilet ship, something like this. This is a prototype. This is the materials. Just round the corner there, so you source locally. And this is us afloat trying it out. Now, sometimes these inventions are kind of artistic more and cultural. And some people might not even count them as bona fide inventions, but sometimes I do try and come up with inventions which solve real important problems. And you'll probably all be familiar with the need in order to switch to renewable energy, we need to find ways of storing that energy so that we can use it when the wind's not blowing and the sun's not shining. And this is a thing. It's a steam turbine, which I know has been invented before, but it runs in temperature and heat stored at very low temperatures, below 100 Celsius. Basically just by putting the whole steam turbine in a vacuum. This looked like it would be handy. This old paint sprayer looked like it would come in handy for making it. Some experiments in the front garden. Bit of an old fridge pump there, with turbine made from drinks cans, and me up a ladder. It's getting bigger and bigger as my inventions tend to do. And Nige knows that. But it does work, as you can see from the lights here. To my own surprise, actually. Now, that's it. Now, over to you. I think we've got a few minutes. Have we? Yeah, we've got 4 minutes. Was there anything in there? Did you have any questions, any thoughts, any inventions of your own that you might want to talk about in 4 minutes?
Did you have any feedback from the turbine?
From the turbine? Oh yeah, because this was announced in the county press fairly recently. I did have some. Mostly it was from amateur people wishing me well, and there was one person who was a stockbroker and he wanted to invest, but he thought it was going to be a fairly easy answer. He was into social investing and he wanted something that would help people out with the coming energy crisis in the short term, so I had to really tell him it wasn't quite that thing and put him off. Not really beyond that. I did have a representative of a big renewables company come and look at it, and he said he could see past the fact that it was made of tin cans and things, and he said he was impressed and had never seen anything like it. However, it hasn't really led anywhere, so I'm currently building a bigger version of it in an undisclosed location on the Isle of Wight, yes.
And are you recording all of this? Have you got a blog? Do you have a book? Have you written a book?
I'm rubbish at that stuff. So I do take photos and little snatches of video. What you
need to do is have one of these, do time lapses, great for,
yes.
And that sort of, or record you doing some of it, the
yes.
bits that you don't mind people knowing, because people love it. It's all that,
yes. It comes back to your thing of doing the crochet on the bus.
Yes.
People love observing people doing
That's
stuff.
right, absolutely.
And kind of joining it vicariously that.
And on that sort of thing, it went back to somebody who stopped and said, Mike, I've got to come and look, my gran used to do this,
yes.
and all that sort of, and there's a whole story, but you see, you've got so much story that should be all out there.
Right, well...
Some of it will be today.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Yeah, do share. And none of my inventions are the kinds, really, that you keep hidden away. I'm not going for patents for them.
No.
Even this one, I just want to share it, and my main reason for making it public was to prevent anyone else kind of patenting it and kind of sitting on it, or it just taking a long time to be realised.
You would inspire a lot of children if you got, you know, the videos of you even, you know, and the papers
Right.
as well, because
Well,
it's a
along
big
the-
lesson
Well,
for them.
thank you.
I'm an
Right.
ex-teacher, see.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, I do actually have various videos from along the journey, so
Yes.
so I could do something with them, and I've got the diary as well,
Yes.
which I did keep.
Yes,
So,
but a lot of people think that you've got to do all that separately. And my son
Right.
teaches, and he says you don't. You just have your cameras up. While you're doing it,
Yeah.
you're creating your own content.
well, Nige is brilliant at that sort of thing. I've always been very bad, and I just can't deal with another thing to kind of in
But
my,
it
in my
stands
head.
in.
But
It is so. You saw
Yeah.
how easy it was for me to set that up.
Yes,
you know,
yeah,
and just
absolutely.
leave it doing its thing. Or time lapses. People love. If you made your
Yes.
invention in 2 seconds or
Yes.
a few seconds, kids love that, and you'll
Yeah.
be inspiring them.
I think you are quite right. Yes. Yes.
Where is the wooden xylophone? Where is it?
The wooden xylophone is an interesting story. So it was first put up in completely the wrong place by mistake, and then I moved it to a different fence along Hope Beach, at the bottom of Hope Beach, and it was there for some years. Then there was a great cliff fall, and it got all kind of bashed down by that. And so I went and, it was kind of smashed up and old anyway. And I took back the wires, which was very rusty, got rid of them, but the wood then heated my house for the whole of that winter. So I think I was the only person in the country, or possibly the world, using a xylophone as fuel.
Can we have another one? Because yes,
Another one.
Another
Well,
one.
why not? Why don't we have another one? Yes, they're
Yes.
not that hard to make.
Every time I go to have a beach, I think, why?
Really? Okay, well, let's make another one. They're not so hard.
especially playing, where you can play. I do like to be beside the seaside.
Yeah.
I walk along Ride Seafront singing that sometimes.
Do you? Yeah. You can just stand there and people can tap you and then you sing it. So, yeah, well, let's make one.
Yes.
It just cheers people up, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
We need things to cheer us up, don't we?
We
need
do.
some cheer you up
And
inventions.
it's not difficult. I mean, I walked along the other day on Go Yellow Day I'd crocheted lots of curls on a wig.
Yeah.
And even that just made people a number of smiles. But I said it was hospice related.
People love
But it just
seeing things
wacky
which
thing.
go out of the norms,
Yes,
the sort of
yeah.
grey usual thing, but in a nice constructive way like
Yes,
that.
yes.
So
I don't mind that.
To make, you know,
a xylophone.
does it take to make that? Yeah.
I was a long time ago. It depends how many notes. There's a surprising number of notes in I do like.
Well, maybe we
to
need
be
a
the-
shorter
I think
tune.
there's 95 words or something like that.
Maybe
yes.
you could do it as a community project. Work with others
Yeah.
to do it.
Yes.
Because that would be
yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
You could do it as one octave though and have it numbered.
Well, that would be another approach. So you then can play whatever you want on it, a bit like a piano, more like that. And so it depends whether you want people who can't play anything at all can play it just by running a stick along it, or whether you want something much more versatile, as you're saying, and more of an actual instrument, where
In between.
yes. Yes, whatever that might be, yes.
It would be amazing,
yeah, or
wouldn't it?
both. Yes. I think I may have reached the end of my this adventure.
We have. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you. And if anyone works out how this thing, tell me.